What's going on, everybody? Serial Entrepreneur here on another episode for YouTube, and in this episode we're going to quickly talk about a question I get a lot, and that's when it comes to hiring, outsourcing to VAs, making sure that you get the right people on, who to look for, when to hire, all of that. We're going to talk about that quickly in this video, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Here it goes. Alright guys, so like I said, in this video we're going to talk quickly about basically just when you should hire people, when is the right time, what platforms you should use if you're going to hire someone, or should you just bring someone onto your business. We're going to talk about all of that briefly here, and then also we're going to talk about some things you should look into when you're choosing who to hire, because the biggest thing that a lot of business owners come across when they're hiring is they get someone who promises all this stuff, right, and then they're not able to actually fulfill the things that they told you they were going to be able to do. So you want to be able to avoid that as much as possible, because the more time you spend hiring and training, the more money it actually costs your business. When I was actually going through my training in Jacksonville, when they hired me, they spent about an average of $350,000 per agent that they were bringing into their agency. And so they spent a lot of money on me for training and for making sure that I was up to date and performing really at the best of my ability. And so that's what you want to be able to do, is minimize that amount that you're going to have to spend on training new people. So first things first, let's talk about when you should actually begin to hire people. So what I like to do is I like to sit down and actually look at it. There isn't a specific number, okay? So it's not just, okay, I've hit $1,000 in sales, now I can start hiring people. No. The way you actually need to work it out, because it depends on how much you're paying yourself, what your expenses are for software, what your ads expenses are. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to pay for. If you have an office, there's overhead. So you have to take that into consideration, and that will kind of let you know when you're able to hire. So what I like to do is I take all of my revenue for a month, and then I compare it to my expenses for that same month. And I try to get about 3 to 4 months worth of data to look at to see what my average expense and income level is for that period. Then all you're going to do is you're going to figure out a feasible amount that you could spend, if you can spend, to outsource some of the work you're doing. So what you have to keep in mind is you might spend a little up front, or you might maybe lose a little bit of money up front, but it's going to add back to that time that you're not used to having, because you're spending it on building campaigns or running out and doing sales. Whatever job you outsource, you won't have to take care of anymore. So it's going to give you more free time to improve results, whether it be your sales or your ad campaigns for your customers. So that's one of the most important reasons why it's, you have to hire people to do this. You can't do it all yourself, especially if you want to take on multiple customers. But you have to understand when that time period is, and really it's just when you can afford to do it, as soon as you possibly can, because the more time you can free up doing regular day stuff, the more time you can spend growing the business. There isn't a just magical number you can start outsourcing at. Really, it's once you can afford it. So sit down, look how much you're spending, look at how much you're pulling in each month, and see what's going to be a reasonable amount for you to budget. Now, the cool thing is, what I can tell you, depending on how many, and again, this depends on how many clients, but about 1 to 2 clients, if you're running around the base package, you can probably get away with hiring a VA and spending, maybe $200 a month for 1 or 2 VAs to create content and post to social pages and stuff like that. So if you're making $1,000, you can take that first $200 and put it towards the VA. Now you can spend more time going out and getting clients and stuff like that. So it's okay to do it right off the bat, but just make sure that you understand, number one, the digital marketing principles, how to run the campaigns, how it all works together as one functioning unit, and then start to outsource. But my biggest recommendation, again, is understand how all of it works before you just start passing it off to someone else. If you're not an expert in the field yourself, how can you look at their work and determine if it's actually worth the money that you're paying them, right? So that's the importance of actually doing the work yourself, understanding it, and then finding the right people, which that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. But really quick, before we jump into that, I want to talk about the platforms that you should use, or that you can consider using when you actually go to hire people. But before we quickly jump into that, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you've liked what we've covered so far, subscribe to this channel so that way you can get all the updates that we have for this kind of content, and follow me at my social media links. They're right down here below. If you need to, you can send me a message. It's not just some bot. I mean, we have bots that sit there and take in messages, but if you get a response, it's from me. So you're able to directly communicate with me and get the help you need. We have all kinds of training in the descriptions below, so make sure to check that out. But like I was saying, some really cool tools to use or services to use. Number one is going to be, and it's my favorite, is Upwork. That's where you want to start at. Okay, so when you actually first start outsourcing, that's the platform I recommend using, and it's because you can do it for individual tasks. And the cool thing is you can actually hire agencies. So there are people, say like in the Philippines and India, who it's just a big group of people who, 20, 30 of them who work together, and they run their own marketing agency out of India. And you can hire that agency to perform not only one task, but multiple digital marketing tasks. A lot of them are able to do social media management, email marketing, and web development, and PPC and SEO all under one roof. And you can, if you find a really good agency to work with, you can keep it all consolidated into one area. And that makes it super easy for you to grow, especially if they're already large enough to handle the workload that you have coming to them. All right, so that's the first platform I recommend starting off on. Once you're able to scale, and you really need more of an internal team, that's where you're going to start looking internally. And again, there is no magic number. You have to be able to afford hiring a person. You have to be able to afford the healthcare benefits that you might have to give them, any other benefits that you have to give an employee, the taxes on that employee. You have to be able to afford all of the expenses associated with hiring an employee. That's why at first I recommend you contract as much as possible. Don't actually bring on any employees. If you can contract a person to come on and do Facebook ads for you, great. If you can contract a person to come on and write blog content or website content, great. That's what I recommend doing at first, because you don't have to pay the taxes. You just 1099 them, and they take care of the taxes themselves. So it makes it much easier for you. You actually end up saving money and time from doing that. So let's look at 4 quick things. And if you want this article or access to this article, you can check us out at serialentrepreneur.academy. This blog article will be posted. It's called Hiring the Right People, where we talk more about the 4 points you want to look for in hiring a person. But I wanted to briefly cover some of the platforms and some of the things you should be aware of before you begin hiring. So number one characteristic or thing that you want to look out for when you're hiring a person and you're trying to figure out if it's the right person for your business is, number one, does the applicant have the functional experience required to fit into your team and help you grow? If they say they're good at Facebook ads, are they really good at Facebook ads? See if they have some results that they can show you. If they say they're good at writing blog articles, get blog articles from them and read them. See if they're any good. If they create video or do video post-production or production itself, you want to check that and see what their quality is like. And then see how it can fit into your current business that you're running. Are they going to be able to fit? Can you afford to pay them what they're worth? All of this is super important stuff for you to understand about that person. Not really can you pay them enough, but what is their actual experience? What's their background? And how long have they been doing it? Or have they been jumping around from business to business? You want to get that type of thing figured out about that person. Next is, does the candidate have the exact strengths that you need for this position? So a good thing to do with a candidate is to do a SWOT analysis on them. When they're talking and you're interviewing them, you basically have your questionnaire or your outline set up to go through SWOT. And if you don't know what a SWOT analysis is, basically the S is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and then threats. And you're able to get an idea of what that person can do for your business and where you're going to have to work with them on to make them better fit your business. The next thing is, so you figure out the strengths, what they are and how they relate to that position. The next part is the applicant should actually suit the values of your organization and be able to work well with the other co-workers or people inside your organization. So if they don't fit well with your values, and if they're more, it's kind of hard to explain, but if they don't see eye to eye with you, if you don't agree on a lot, if you butt heads on a lot, like that can be a good thing to have someone with a different perspective. But if all you do is butt heads with this person and they cause trouble, or they have a history of causing trouble and you find that out, you really want to be careful before you hire that person to make sure that, it's not the wrong fit for your business. Now, some people being very very bullish or being very aggressive can be a benefit for a business, especially if they're in like sales or marketing. But there is a point where it becomes a negative effect on the business, and you don't want to take someone on, spend the time, spend the money to train that person just to have them be, exactly the opposite of what you were looking for, right? And last but not least is make sure you understand what they are really looking for. Like, a lot of people will go to a job interview because they need a job, but that doesn't mean it's the right fit, especially for a long-term position when you're trying to hire someone for an extended period of time. But if they're just looking for a job to make some money, that doesn't mean that they'll be there for the next 5 to 6 years. And when you're hiring, that's what you want to consider, is someone who's going to be there. If I invest this much time and effort into you, I want you to reciprocate that back to me and invest that time and effort back into me and my business, right? So you need to make sure that you know what they're looking for. If they say things like, oh yeah, this is just a great starting opportunity for me, that tells you right there that they might not be considering staying with you very long at all. It could be a year, 2-year thing. And that's stuff that you want to make sure, again, you're checking with these people and asking them what their plan is, what their 5-year plan is, what their 10-year plan is, where do they see themselves in the next year, 2 years. So that way you can understand what they plan to do, so you don't waste your time and money developing someone that's not even going to be there in the next year, right? So that's my tips on hiring the right people, making sure that you're, covering everything you need to cover, that it's the right time for you to invest in that specific arm of your business, and making sure that you're able to afford it and that you're able to manage it. Because that's the other thing. If you don't have experience working with people before, you're going to need to take it slow, because managing a large group is much easier or harder than managing a small group, unless you have like tiers of management underneath you and everything is kind of broken up. But in the beginning, it's just going to be you and your team underneath you, so you won't have managers and stuff like that. So you'll have to be good at managing and working with people and being understanding, because things don't always work out your way. And that's one of the biggest struggles that entrepreneurs have, is just letting go of their business and letting other people do the work for them, because they want to manage it all themselves and micromanage and make sure that it's all taken care of, when in reality, that's actually keeping you from growing. So, and that's, I guess, another point I should make is, that's kind of a way you're able to tell when you should start hiring. If you're sitting there and every day you're working 12, 15-hour days and you don't have time to even eat or breathe, you should probably consider hiring someone. And if you're working that much, you should be making enough money to pay those people to do these, very easy, basic tasks at a very, very affordable rate. That's the other thing. When you hire out in the Philippines and in India, they work at literally about 25% of the cost of someone in the US, maybe even less than that, maybe 20%. So a really great way for you to be able to expand your business, grow your business, and not have to spend a ton of money to do it, and give you more free time to do the things you like to do. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If this content was useful for you, leave a like and a comment in the section below, and let me know if you want to learn some more about, hiring and making sure that you have the right team underneath you. If this kind of content is useful for you, let me know in the comment section below, and we will focus on putting together some more training and hiring type content. Outside of that, guys, make sure to check our description below so that you can get all the useful links, trainings, all the free stuff that's down there, our free Facebook group. There's all kinds of stuff, so make sure you check that out. Outside of that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Serial Entrepreneur out. Ready to start living the 6-figure work wherever, be your own boss lifestyle? Well, at Serial Entrepreneur Academy, we'll teach you how to use a laptop and internet to start your own social media and digital marketing agency. Get started with our free Facebook ads training. Links in the description below, guys. See you in the course. Serial Entrepreneur out.